Yeah! What's going on with y'all boys? You dirty cats. We back in black.
Your voice is back because you just went into the void there for a second.
Out of all the ways to welcome everyone back, you dirty cats was not the way I was expecting it. I'm very glad you went that way. That was a very good intro.
It's like I heard the dirty and I was like, oh, what's coming next? Cats wasn't what I was expecting.
We're
Put that tongue away. We don't need to see that tongue, okay? We're talking about a chapter. You get too excited. We're having fun. All right, that's enough now. Please stop.
Put it back in your mouth, Venom.
Mate, I'm happy to wait another 3 months if we need to. That's fine.
Venom, he called you Venom, the only black symbiote. How we feel about that?
Is he the only black symbiote?
Hey, no, actually, I don't think he is. There might be a few.
Oh, there's more than a few. Because I've seen comics where it's like a planet's worth of those sons of bitches.
Yeah.
And he's like weak compared to them.
Sir.
All right, boys. So we're here to bring you 195 to 200. What's going on, Mad Lemon? It's been a little bit since we were able to cover the redraws. We decided to wait on that. I'm not sure if Sasuke's going to be able to make it. I think he had a prior engagement, but he's caught up. He knows what's going on, and he gives his condolences to the boys, everybody watching. One Punch is changing. Empty Void is a different kind of problem and a different kind of threat. And it kind of, in my personal opinion, helps us dive more so into the whole God theory. I've been doing a whole top 30 thing, so I'm having to reread and check out a bunch of different fights and panels again. And the context and the things that are alluding to God from the beginning of the story are just, they continue to rise up. The theory of God is alive and well. But 195 to 200 had a lot of content. What did you boys think?
Oh, it's great. The redraws are better. That's the main thing. Everything is just better. Empty Void has gone Empty Void was okay, but now all of a sudden he's much bigger and more intimidating threat. The fights are better. Sonic and Flash's fight against the ninja was so much better this time. The choreography was just on another level. Just even world building, obviously if we learn with Saitama and Blast is great. Blast knowledge of Saitama, Blast going more into Empty Void, and obviously him moving the Hero Association is massive, and the Dimension Slash is massive, and like you said, Grim, it's learning about God's influence too. We learn more about how God works, and that's basically just general improvements. It's funnier, it's more tense, it's got more action, it keeps the good stuff from before, but it improves on the stuff that needed improving.
Sundown?
Yeah, I think I much preferred it this time around and how I kind of went. Seeing Empty Void pop up the last time and how he popped up when he did the whole kind of slurpy noodle thing, I was like, yeah, this is cool, and that was really menacing. But then the fact that it was all kind of a genjutsu kind of thing, I was like, yes, it's not that great. So this time around, kind of him just teasing a little bit with the Dimension Slash, seeing his background and kind of how he came back this time around, seeing Blast witness that and kind of all of that type of stuff. And then like Matt was saying, how he engaged with Flash and Sonic this time, their kind of choreo before that, and how they engaged with the Tenin Toe is called. And everything about the redraws I think I was pretty happy with, and having someone there at the very least acknowledge that Saitama did what he did, I thought was a nice kind of pullback in the story. Something that I think we needed a little bit of, because everyone was just playing that game of oh my god, I don't remember who did what. So I'm glad that there was someone there who was like, actually, I saw it all besides just Genos. So I'm really happy with the redraws.
Let's pivot right there, because I'm looking for things to blow off on. No homo, or to pop.
We weren't thinking that. No one was thinking that except for you.
To expand upon.
I mean, now that you said it,
now we're all thinking that.
Projecting as always.
But is that taking away from some future great reveal? Like, is this diluting a possible future where like the truth about Saitama was revealed? Like, are you disappointed that Blast saw everything and is now telling Sitch? Are you just disappointed that Sitch knows? Like, or is there no disappointment here and it's just excitement? Because this is also a key moment. Like, somebody's acknowledging Saitama. That's always, if not the main point of the series. Like, at least from our viewpoint, what we want these people to look and understand is that Caped is that guy, but they don't see it. So how did you feel about that, and what do you think that are the greater implications of that?
Do you want to answer it first, Keishin, because you haven't had a chance yet?
Well, us getting a more defined character that's being directly influenced by God is a big plot point, especially this early on in this arc. So the skies are quite literally the limit here, and I can't be any more excited for it. Like, we've barely started this, and we've already presumably gotten our big bad. He's showing off his abilities. He's an improvement over the since the initial telling of this arc, so that's great. Um, yeah, not sure what else to add there.
So with acknowledgement of Saitama, for me, it's a massive hype, really, because we know Blast is strong. He's been hyped up. He's been hyped up incredibly, as is, right? S-class rank 1. From what we've seen, even just in these chapters alone, he's incredibly powerful. And for him to look at Saitama and go, "Oh, you're strong. I know you beat Garou, and I know I can recognize your strength." Even like to reiterate to Sitch, so Sitch understood the strength of Saitama when he used the phrase in particular, "The Earth is in danger." That's in quotes because that's reference to what Shibabawa said about the Earth is in danger, which was also reference to God level threat, saying like, "Hey, if Saitama didn't step in here, if like Saitama basically dealt with someone who could have been that God level threat, he could have been the end for everyone." Um, for me, it's hyped because also we've got this guy who we're meeting more, but there's obviously other characters who will learn more about Saitama in the future, and we're gonna so it doesn't take away from any future interactions because we've got general things like what happens when if my mask doesn't know what's going to happen then. Like the public is a massive one for me when the public actually have to go, oh wait, he's not a fake, he's actually that strong. What's going on? And even then, there's always an element with One Punch Man characters where they get Saitama strong, but not many of them actually get how strong Saitama really is. So seeing how that can develop, that's also the extra reveal is people go, I knew he was strong, but this is a different level. So no, it's just good. It's just good for me.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it takes away from the hype, especially because like with Blast and Sitch knowing, it's still very very hush hush. That's like two people out of so many other different individuals that we would eventually want to know, and well, not just know, we would want them to acknowledge it and kind of understand exactly how strong Saitama is. So I think it's all very very hush hush at the moment, which I still kind of like. And the fact that Blast is kind of indicating to Sitch, oh by the way, this is what happened, and Sitch is looking at Saitama like, hey, is this true? And Saitama's like, hey, dude, I don't even know what happened. I don't know what day it was. So the fact that that's happening, I think Sitch still believes Blast because it's Blast giving him this information. But I think there's also this element of Sitch struggling to believe it because of Saitama's reaction. So even though he acknowledges it, I don't think there's that kind of full firm belief. So I'm hoping maybe at some point Sitch actually gets to see something where Saitama actually displays his ability, and then Sitch will be like, "Oh shit! Like this guy's actually legit." So at the moment, for me, it's still very in the domain of Blast is the only one who truly, besides like Genos and maybe someone like Sonic, and maybe Flashy as well. There and who else really knows? King maybe, and Bang.
King, Bang, I guess you could say Garou as well. He
Yeah.
King Bang for Bomb. Bomb would know actually because he saw him take down another centipede. Yeah, I mean, there's a few people. Black Sperm, yeah, Black Sperm knows. Black Sperm's known
Yeah.
not to mess with him. Same with Rover. Mhm. There's plenty of
Yep.
people out there who know. Like I said, there's people who are aware. Like Fubuki was like, "You're strong, Saitama, but you're not as strong as like King or Blast. They're the top dogs." It's like, well, no,
Mhm.
but we understand why. Even like Tatsumaki actually as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So besides all of those people, I think it's still a very kind of confined and small amount of people who actually genuinely acknowledge it. And Sitch, I don't think, is quite on that level just yet.
It's, to me, that's troublesome because Sitch is kind of the main person who I wanted to know. Not necessarily because I had some desire or like for the character that's different than anybody else's, but because he's kind of the one that's moving things. And like, I guess him acknowledging how strong Saitama was and knowing that like the threats that he's worried about, he kind of already has them handled. I guess that's the sense of like calm or satisfaction that I'm looking for, but I don't know. It hasn't been necessarily shown yet. As you pointed out, Sitch doesn't necessarily believe him exactly. I guess he's acknowledging and accepting what Blast said, but he's still questioning Saitama. So I guess he's like, what does that really mean? Like, until he sees it himself, that's when Sitch will really grasp what it means to have Saitama be this strong, or for Saitama to have like been involved in the scenario. I know what it means for Blast, but like even then, I think how casual Blast has been with this entire scenario in reference to Saitama is kind of the key as to why I think even he's downplaying it. Remember before when it was the case that Genos didn't really know how strong Saitama was? The biggest example is when he mentioned that you would need Tatsumaki, Saitama, and everybody else to fight Goketsu. And that clearly showed that he didn't really understand how strong Tatsumaki, Saitama, and the rest of the S-Class actually were. I feel like that's the exact same instance where Blast doesn't really know. Even though, which is crazy, even though he technically was there, present, and got involved with the strongest attack in the series, or the second strongest attack in the series, basically. He still won't be like, hey, Caped, I need you to help me fight. Like, hey, Caped, come do this and that. Like, it makes you question, what does he actually know? What does he actually remember? But we saw what is in his memories. What's in his memories is the gamma ray burst that Garou let off when he was fighting Saitama. So like that was after he had been blessed and was cosmic. So I
saw
don't
that.
get it.
But what he didn't see was like, in comparison, what he didn't see was Serious Punch Squared, which is where that's the main. I think that's like a big deal. Is he obviously saw Gamma Ray burst, and that's crazy for Blast to see that. Like they make a note in the chapter like this is like the strongest known energy that has been observed in the universe. Saitama took that, and Blast like, oh hey, he's all right, I guess. You know, that's what's crazy. And maybe
I thought he did see.
That.
I thought he did see it.
No, he did see it, but what I mean is the fact he saw that and he's not like, oh my god, Saitama's this guy. Like he saw if he knows what that is, let's assume he knows what that is, and he goes, oh, that's because the chance he just doesn't know, because we had to have it explained to us by the narration of what that attack was in particular. But it's like the Serious Punch Squared. That's what he was really concerned about, was when the two Serious Punches were going to collide. So it might be he thinks Saitama is strong because he saw what Garou could do. When Garou went cosmic, did he fight Blast like in the original? Because he fought Blast when he was cosmic. Did he fight him before? He's before that time where he poses at the top, or is it after that?
So Garou becomes cosmic, then he goes after Genos.
He goes after, so he fights Saitama originally. Gamma Ray sends Saitama flying. Then he goes time to conduct evil. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then is that when Blast fights him?
Yeah, because he like bodies Genos, then Blast goes after him, and then that's when Saitama.
That's when they end up in space, if I remember right.
No, so he doesn't body Genos then, because bodying Genos is what leads Saitama to get angry. So that's
no. He had already done that, because Saitama shows up and he throws the core at Saitama. So he already had that in his hand. Remember, Blast. What was it that made Blast? Blast like attacked him because he had to do that to Genos.
No, it was no, because that was the last thing before. No. So that happened after. So no, so Blast fought Garou, then that happened with Genos because Garou also developed like the gravity knuckle, which blasted. No, yeah, so it was Blast versus Garou, then Genos, then Genos happened, and then it was Saitama versus Garou.
He matches the consecutive punches, sends him flying, does the gamma ray bursts. That's what's in his memory. Okay. Then he lands
so he
down.
wouldn't remember actually fighting Garou.
Okay. Okay. Damn, bro. That is what happens, bro. He grabs Genos, and that's when Blast attacks him. Okay, but I see what you're saying. He doesn't kill him till after. They fight first. Okay.
So it's whatever happens on the next one.
So not this one.
Might be the one you're on. Hang on. So I'm watching it on YouTube, so.
Gotcha. Bro, click the live on Discord, bro.
I could do, but I'm just getting you those views.
Oh, you're right. No, you're right. You're right.
All right, I guess I won't watch.
No, go ahead and watch. Click, yeah.
Yes, we had a full chat. Yes, this is when he fights
fan.
Blast. Yeah, okay. This is it, yeah. Anyway, basically, the whole point is, Blast it. So in this timeline that we're in now, Blast didn't fight Garou. He didn't do the punches square. He didn't see the serious punch squared. So he probably doesn't have like a real idea on what Saitama can do as well, because of course, all he saw was basically Saitama kind of show up out of nowhere. And
shit, that's right. That's what you're saying. Because last chapter is when the serious punch happened, or the whatchamacallit.
Yeah, sorry if I didn't explain that.
The zero punch. Okay, yeah. The zero punch happens right here. Right here. He's looking up. He says, "Thank you," and then Saitama comes and just BAM!
That's how he does. Yeah, that's the most I'll use in season 3, or hopefully not season 3. Please don't let that be in season 3.
Oh shit! So he really never fought Garou.
He can tell he's strong. Obviously, he knows he's like he saw Garou was strong, and he knows he's got God's influence.
Mm-hmm.
But he never saw. But he never really experienced. He never experienced Garou. You know.
But we know though. We know he would still body Garou.
Maybe. We don't know. Garou's he's a good learner. We don't really know the levels of Blast. He couldn't hit Empty Void, so we don't know about that.
Man. Matter of fact, let's just keep it pushing off the same point. Let's keep it rolling like that. So, Blast, right? We just went through, or like kind of scrolled through the fight to a certain extent. And like, we kind of know what like Cosmic's capable of because we've seen that and reread that fight multiple times. Like, we were into it. So, now we have Empty Void. In the story, in the context, Empty Void, whenever Garou was losing his power, it wasn't the case that God took it. Empty Void sucked it up instead. And this guy was in outer space. He had just awakened from the 15-year slumber, and he had been previously blessed. So there are some things that are like kind of straightforward, but I think they deserve to be at least said out loud to acknowledge if it's clearly the truth or if there's room to speculate. So, for example, in conversations, it's almost understood that like, or accepted that Empty Void is still blessed. He still holds the blessing that he originally got from God. And however strong that made him previously, which was stronger than Blast, that he just now soaked up the blessing that Garou got. So not only was he previously stronger than Blast, now he's stronger than Blast plus Garou's blessing. Do you guys interpret it like that, or do you think Empty Void lost his blessing, or how does that work? How do you guys feel what's going on here?
So, I don't think he. Actually, that's good. But I didn't initially interpret it as him slurping up the blessing. I I interpreted it as him kind of just absorbing the energy from Garou and kind of revitalizing himself in that way. So kind of like taking Garou's that cosmic form, the energy from that, and then adding that surplus to himself. That's how I understood it.
Same. I don't think he got any additional blessing in that regard.
It's difficult because obviously every time we've seen a blessing get taken or someone loses a blessing, they die. Really, no one just kind of has a blessing and lives afterwards, right? So I don't know how else it could be.
Sairochi did. Psychos did.
Technically, depends if you give technically count Orochi as dying for the blessing or.
No, he didn't die for it. Not because of that. He died because he got killed.
That's true. That is true.
He died because he died. Is what you say.
And then if you think about Sage Centipede too, he didn't like turn into salt after his death, and it's strongly alluded to that he came from God.
Who was that? Sorry.
Sage Centipede.
Oh, Sage Centipede. Okay.
There's also some dialogue that people are trying to claim that God was involved in Eva Ocean Water getting that big, which I strongly disagree with. But there's some dialogue that's confusing, dialogue that's coming from Sage. So if people want to lean towards that, you could technically say that Eva Ocean Water also died with a blessing, or got to that size because of a blessing, and then died and didn't turn to salt. But that's different, right? We're talking about people dying. Maybe that's a whole different scenario than losing your fight and having your powers taken. But then again, like I said, it was Psychos who technically saw the blessing. Orochi was conscious. We heard a dialogue from Orochi during their power struggle, and then God got involved, and then she took over. So to me, and she's the one who got the flashback of the planet of a planetoid version of God. So to me, it's kind of alluding to the fact that God came to her with this blessing. She took it. She lost, and she didn't turn to salt. Orochi was involved. He lost, but got killed instead. So
I mean, honestly, I think I wish I could give you an answer, but I don't know. The problem is we don't know why Psycho survived, but everyone else has either died. Basically, they've been killed because they've been beaten by someone, blessing or not, or God has decided, actually, I'm just going to take it back. Anytime God's taken it back, someone has died, right? But anytime someone's lost, then it's just been what am I thinking? But then obviously they've just died, and that's it. So the question is, because Garou was different, and I think, to be fair, Keishan and Sundown are probably on the right track, because it just kind of exploded out of him. Like it wasn't as if it was like a blessing go, because we don't obviously like a blessing go back and forth, and we've seen it before. God just takes it and then they start dying. So it just has to be. I think it is just energy, right?
Yeah, that's him using the blessing's power, and he's just generating radiation, energy, whatever. It's not the blessing directly. It's a byproduct, for a lack of a better term.
That's fair.
Sundown and Keisha, you guys ready to give your opinion about how strong Empty Void was, right?
That son of a bitch is strong. We've only seen the tip of the iceberg.
His introduction hits so differently now. It's so good. Like,
yeah,
just
big glow up.
immediate space fight, absorbs Garou's energy, which is immediately worrying. Not only that, throws space over himself and disappears laughing. I'm immediately like, Empty Void is a much bigger threat than he once was.
and then just casually tries to destroy a city-size organization. Like, can't get over that.
I mean, that's a feat for both not for Gar. That's a feat for both Blast and Empty Void. Empty Void for doing it and Blast to reacting and dodging it that quickly is insane,
bro. And this is what we've been looking for, like the escalation in the powers and the fighting. This is why One Punch Man is great. Like, I was arguing about this the other day in regards to the series in the top 30. Like, we were getting top tier dragons in the first chapter. Like, Vaccine Man, what Vaccine Man was doing in the first chapter, guys now are doing that. Vaccine Man versus like Fear Ugly or Gums, that's a fight, bro. That's a fight. That would be terrific to see. Like, you can't downplay how well one has spread out the power scaling or the different feats or the levels of fighting up and down throughout the series. And I think that this is what we were missing and what we need more of to get back to the fire that we were like experiencing back in the middle of the monster invasion arc, of the hero invasion arc, to get even glimpses of that or builds up of that, because this Tatsumaki stuff has been really like, even the Nero heroes has been like kind of plateauing. And don't get me wrong, I'm excited for those storylines, but like they need more fire first. But this, to get back to what I was saying initially, this is the highest tier of combat. We're seeing the top tier of the verse exchange attacks and in an almost casual fashion, because Empty Void didn't follow up that first dimensional slash with another attack. He could have. We just seen in the most recent chapter he could have done that thing to everybody there, like for real, bro. Like for real. It like, but it didn't happen. We didn't see that. So that's why, like, not only am I like really excited that I got to see or that we're getting back to those types of attacks and those types of interactions, but because it's not that consistent yet and it's building consistency, it makes it even more exciting. It means that there's a climax up ahead that we're going to reach, and the rising action to that climax is going to be gas. It's going to be GAS, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think not just the strength of one, but the strength of, and it's partially Murata's art on this too. But like, one of the strengths of One Punch Man in terms of power scaling and fights is you don't necessarily need to go bigger to make a fight to make it more entertaining. Like, obviously, other series, obviously the next threat's got to be stronger. It's got to be stronger. But the way it's been working from the beginning is you don't need like it. Like, we didn't have dragon level threats the whole way through. I mean, watching Garou's growth is the perfect example of this. It's not about having the immediately two strongest people fight each other. It's about having just two people of a similar level go have just a good fight against each other. That's what's entertaining. And like, obviously, apart from Saitama, of course, because I fucking love that guy. And his all shenanigans, punching everyone. but like, apart from that, genuinely, this is just one of the strengths of One Punch Man is, and like, it's entertaining as long as there's two people the same level having a good fight. Doesn't matter what level they are. Like, I'd be fully okay with two C classes having a full-on clash if the fight was just really well choreographed and really well done. It could be goofy.
Hell yeah.
I want it to be goofy. Trust me on that. I want it to be funny and silly. But if it's got good choreographing as well, that's what we want.
No, bro, those are some of those fights have the potential of being the best. Like, till this day, I still claim that because of the instance and the scenario that it was, Genos versus Garou is one of the best fights in the series. It has to be one of the best fights in the series.
It's great. It's a great fight. Yeah.
He had just come out of beasting against the AB8 after he was already exhausted and poisoned and all that. And then he got more exhausted and poisoned. And
that's a great fight as well.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, that was probably honestly the best fight of season 2. Like,
that is like the strongest run of One
Animated.
Punch Man in terms of for fight. I mean, literally, it goes that, the Genos, then bang, then El Centipede versus those guys,
Yeah.
then mostly Genos versus them, and then you finish it with side. It's crazy.
oh my god.
That escalation, that chapter, I think might be the best chapter on Punch Man.
Chapter 84, escalation, bro. Legitimately. Like,
You know the name, you know the number.
Yeah.
We know the number and name off by heart because it is probably the best chapter on Punch Man.
yes, no question of. I bet I'm right too. Look, hold on, let me.
No, albeit I know you're right.
Yeah.
I know what it is too.
Yeah, 100% it is that. That's what it is right there. But no, man, it's and I don't want to like take up the time for Sundown and Keishan to like want to hop on the greatness of like what we're currently seeing. Could you guys elaborate on like on how you're feeling about the level of combat that we're experiencing with Empty Void and Blast exchanging these attacks and these reactions?
Dude, I was sold when I saw Empty Void put his hands behind his back, pull out his swords, and he cut through Blast Kamehameha, bro. I was like, no way. Alright. This is different. This is not what I was expecting. I thought he would have got another wound for 15 years or something like that. But this guy pulled out his sword and he was like, bro, I swear this guy got some Indian in him. He's like, oh, I hurt my back. I hurt my back. I'm done. That's me done in the fields, bro. No more of this. I'm going home. But yeah, I was super impressed. As soon as I saw him slash through that attack, I was like, yo, this is gonna be cool. And then also his design in that chapter in particular looked particularly different to I think what we're used to. Like he had the scarring around him and even his face was kind of slightly different. I'm not sure if it was just because it was from a distance and he had just kind of revitalized after having slurped up Garou's energy. I saw your face change. I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I thought his design was cool and everything, but then the fact that once again that surprise blast means that this is something that either Blast wasn't expecting or hasn't seen yet. So it means we're gonna get hopefully some new dimensions in their fight that they didn't get last time, and that's something I'm really looking forward to as well. So yeah, I'm really impressed with Empty Void so far. His dimensional slash, or his what was it actually called? Was it called dimensional slash? Dimensional sword?
We know what you. Yes.
Yeah,
big attack. Yes.
The big attack. That looks like it could be absolutely amazing, and the fact that like Flashy's just thinking mentally like, "Hey, there's no way we can do anything about that." I was like, "Yep, bro. If he unleashes that, you guys are screwed." So really like that. I'm not sure if beforehand they ever really confirmed that our boy Empty Void could just chill in random dimensions and could actually traverse and travel through dimensions. I'm not sure if it was like that before the redraws. But this time around for sure, they're saying, yeah, dude's just chilling in between dimensions. He's vibing, and he can just pop out, kind of similar to Blast, wherever he wants, and just kind of just be like, hello, dimensional slash, here you go. So yeah, just really looking forward to what he's about to do. He seems to be, to me, he feels a lot more menacing and a lot more powerful than before the redraws, and I'm just looking forward to it. I think he's actually going to pose a problem for Blast here, and it's not going to be just some kind of easy walk in the park kind of thing.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of that, it's mentioned that they literally have like the same power, but I think it's how they apply it, which is fun. You know, Blast just likes to teleport around. Freaking Void just teleports other shit into your space, and it's like, hey, I'm like half the universe away, but guess what? I'm sending you a little gift. It's like, I'm not expecting a reply because you're all gonna be dead.
I know obviously we'll get to it in a bit anyway, but apart from like talking about Empty Void's abilities, they talk about his genjutsu and how his genjutsu mastered. Last redraw, it was fine because we were like, oh wow, these people weren't actually dead. The best way to show someone's a master of illusions that I can think of is to fool the readers, because that moment where we see the Flashy touching the cube with Sonic is so like everyone was caught off guard by that.
Bro,
it's done so well. It's like it's how you do it. It's just how you do it. If you want to show someone's good illusions, trick everyone. In the scenario, the readers catch them off guard, so we have to go back a page and look what happened. It was incredible.
Very true.
Bro, like, oh my god. Like, it got me so good, bro. Like, like, so... I was like, that's Flashy, bro. I didn't even notice he was pulling out the cube, bro. Because I was scrolling down the panel. I thought he was just saying something casual. And then you see Flashy screaming, like, sorry, don't tell me. I'm like, what? Nani? Bro, like... Oh, this is way better.
So good.
Way
Yeah,
better
it
than the
is.
previous Genjutsu use. And that wasn't bad.
No, that's the bit. It's generally just better. The everything in this redraw has just been generally better. Nothing was bad before, but it's just like, oh, it wasn't bad, but now it's like, oh, now we've tasted a steak and we had a hamburger before. That's literally what it was. Never wrong with a hamburger, but hey, that was a good steak, you know?
That was a fucking good ass steak, bro. That was a good ass, bro. Like, oh my god. And then, like, we were talking about choreography. Somebody was talking about, like, earlier too, about the choreography in One Punch Man, how it's evolved over time, and sometimes it decreases. But I do want to give props to the Flash versus Sonic fight, because the choreography was decent. I know some people were like downplaying that, like, it didn't look drawn as badass as like other fights, and that's fine. But like, still, bro, it was decent. But the choreography, the quick choreography of Empty Void versus these two, bro, like, he just touches his chest, touches Sonic's chest, like, just like, and then he gets shocked, and then like he teleports behind Flashy, grabs him as he kicks. You see him dodge the kick, and then just put the cube on his chest. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Where you see every single movement, the counter to every single action, and it's on the panel, on the page. It's not like you're only seeing an arm do something, and then the next panel is like the effect of what the arm did. No, you're seeing the orientation of Flashy's like a blade and his other arm as he's trying to kick Empty Void. It makes sense in the next panel, Empty Void's orientation in reference to how he would block that kick or dodge that kick, and it makes sense as to how Empty Void would attack his chest after he had just been in that orientation, dodging Flash's kick like that. That's what I'm talking about. Exceptional choreography, bro. And it looked so, it was just so dirty, bro. Like, that's what you would imagine whenever you see a villain or a hero, mainly a villain, bro. A villain beats the hero's ass, and then he does some pompous, like, stupid shit that, like, obviously would make you lose a fight. Like, you would never do that in a fight. You would never sit there and laugh at your opponent, turn your back to him, and then talk shit to him for, like, 5 minutes, tell him what you're playing and shit like that. Like, no. You wouldn't explain to him how you beat him. Like, you would not do that, bro. You would just put a bullet in his head. That's what Void just did, bro. He wasn't on some, like, no joking shit, no, like, I'm gonna give you a monologue as to what the future is. I think that's what happened in the previous iteration. No, bro. He just dodged your shit and sent you to God, bro. That's it. Ain't no questions asked, bro. Hop into the pit, Flashy. Hop into the pit, bro. It was gas.
But if we're talking about good choreography, can we talk about Sonic and Flash versus the Ninjas? Because that's good choreography to me. Like, their combos, like, people legit actually dying, unless it turns out to be Genjutsu, is insane. Like, their tag team just, like, immediately, like, whip him round. When the guy goes lunging at Flashy, he grabs him by the leg and starts using him as a weapon. There's so many good moments in this. Like, that's like the hypest moment for Sonic, is literally when the guy uses a Sonic Boom on the whip and immediately responds with his own Sonic Boom and just instantly slices his head off. This fight it's going to be underrated, I think. In terms of when people look at One Punch Man fights, people will forget about this, but this is very good stuff.
Sundown Keishan?
Yeah, the way the fight started was just kind of, it really, really set the tone. I'm just going through it now as well with the whole, this new ninja looking dude with this weird ass kind of snake whip kind of thing. And he is like so fast that it breaks the sound barrier, and then he hears another breaking of the sound barrier and his head comes off next thing he knows. I was like, yo, dude, like, this is actually crazy. This is mad. So then from there we get Flash just doing his madness, going through everyone, killing it. And there was a moment here where someone actually gets diced up, right?
Oh, there's many moments like that, yeah.
Yeah. So like one of the ninjas straight at, like, actually just gets diced. And I was like, yo, like this, like Matt was saying, we're not just getting like, oh yeah, this guy gets punched in the gut and he's just out for the count. These guys are actually like straight up just getting killed off. So yeah, and then that whole kind of any scene where you have Flash and any form of debris, and he's just bouncing off the walls.
Man, that was
oh shit, bro!
Combo. It was a great combo by those guys.
You throw a piece of paper away, he gonna jump off it.
Yeah, so as soon as I saw that car and Flash just hanging off it, I was like, "Oh, these guys are dead. They're screwed." So yeah, that was such an epic part.
It wasn't even that. It was just the bait to lure him in the middle so Sonic could finish him off.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
everything is so good about this fight.
I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. A lot of people ruined the fight for me, but looking back at it and secretly, it really was good, bro. Because again, you are seeing a lot of the exchanges, a lot of the attacks clearly. It's not like it's not like other manga, bro, where you're just seeing like some one shot or unclear combat feats, or in One Piece where they off screen everything, bro. Like,
You're still bitter about that. You've always been bitter about Wano.
oh my god, so many good things, bro, that got off screen in One Piece, bro. That they say was supposed to be like done in the anime, and for the most part it is, but it's not always the case. But Murata doesn't leave any room for that, and to some degree, I think that's a detriment for the anime because it limits their creativity. But as long as they have permission to do or to expand upon things, I think pretty much it's fine. And I've actually been noticing that in a few different iterations, where like if an animation staff doesn't take the liberties of expanding upon what's drawn, it's kind of lacking because it is a different medium. Like, we have the privilege of experiencing an artist who's able to incorporate motion and translate movements exceptionally well. We can tell very easily how things are progressing, and you could use that in an animated fashion. Like he's even done animations himself and releases to the public of his work. Like he knows what's going on. We've seen that with like the EC thing too, right? Where like we see every single panel of the punch going through, and it's like an animation. We've had that multiple different times in the series, so that's a privilege. That privilege allows an animator to like fluently draw out exactly what Murata, or animate exactly what Murata drew, and it still looks badass to a certain degree. But some of these animations, bro, like there is no translation to the motion, and they don't do it. They don't expand upon it in the anime, so it just looks stiff, or it looks like you threw a kick, and then the kick, like, you get what I'm saying. It looks like a 2D motion across the screen, and I'm glad that we don't have to deal with that. But it's almost limiting to a certain degree. Like, you can't get the Jujutsu Kaisen type creativity in One Punch Man all the time because of that. Now, don't get me wrong, we got it for the Boros and Saitama fight, but I want more of that. I want more of that. And Murata gives it to us in the page. We don't gotta wait for it to be animated. It's in the page.
It really falls to how organic the movements are, especially when it's like hand to hand combat opposed to like superpower related stuff. You know, like they aren't throwing around like lightning bolts or anything like that. They're fighting with their fists, their swords. You know, that really adds to the sequence because then Murata breaks it down, and like you were saying, it's like it really helps when it gets to the anime phase because then you can just totally go ham into the animation. Murata serves it up and they cook it.
I actually use that this very concept in like a debate against like Sonic and Flashy. Flash was particularly flashy because you could see. I was pointing out that like for example on this panel right here that I have on the screen, you can see every single slice or slash that Sonic and Flashy exchange with. You can see them lock blades. You can see all of that. Like, it's happening quickly, obviously, but you can see every single one of those exchanges. That's not the case with Atomic Samurai ever. Like, never. Not even with somebody who's supposed to be matching his exact skill and speed and all that. Like, you don't see that. That's not how his is depicted. And I'm trying to use that to emphasize the fact that like Atomic Samurai slashes way faster than this guy even moves. Like, yes, he was involved in the constellations that we saw in the sky, and yes, we saw him maneuver around in that cavern up against the Ninja Brothers extremely fast before the debris fell. But that's not faster than how Atomic Samurai attacks. Like, he's literally slashing hundreds of times in that microsecond. So I was using that like this great depiction of every single slash because as you can see on the panel here, like yeah, bro, like Flashy slashes to the left, Sonic jumps up in the air and dodges. Then Flashy slashes downward, Sonic dodges by slashing to the left. Then they do a quick exchange there where Sonic goes after him and then Flashy has to block now. I'm understanding the exact sequence because he drew it that well. That's what I'm trying to get at. That like this guy is great, bro. And you're right, Matt. This is a good fight.
There's also some small stuff where it's interesting that the guys who want to team up are awful together, but the two who don't want to team up and want to handle it themselves are really good as a duo. And it's obviously because of their history, but there's just like there's a small joke there that these guys are like, we're going to team up and take you down, and they are awful together. They can't coordinate, they can't work together at all. Whereas Sonic and Flashy were like, I don't care, I'll handle it myself. Are instantly pulling off combos. These guys haven't probably fought in what, like 10 years? Well, 10 years or so. That's me being a rough estimate. It's probably close to like what 6. And they're immediately just like making these amazing moves back and forth from each other. It's great. Like I said, yeah. I won't go on too much about it. I said everything I need to about this fight. It's good. Don't forget it. It'll be easy to forget because there's going to be a lot of big fights, but this is a good one.
It is great to see, like, they just have this instant synergy with their combos and move sets. Like, it really shows that they have trained together in the past, and that blade has not rusted one bit, regardless of their animosity towards each other. It really just shows that they can work together. But I think it's so much that they had like a shared goal that that's what was able to really show off their skill.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys think that Sonic and Flash were trying to kill each other, or that they were like, as is said on the panel on the screen, they're just trying to see who's stronger, like reminiscing and then like using their fight to reminisce and stuff?
Sonic might have been trying, but I don't think Flashy was. Because because they have that history together, and I could believe that because Sonic is quite prideful. He doesn't. Most modern ninjas are prideful, Jeremy. They don't like anyone who's faster than them. If anyone's faster than them, they gotta kill him. That's just how it is. So Flashy, he's very much like the whole time, like we're gonna settle who's stronger, but he doesn't really say that much like I'm going to kill you. So I don't think they were actually intended to kill each other. Well, at least, Flashy was looking for excuses. As the fight went on, he was like, oh, no, we can work together. And Sonic at times was like, no, we're going to sell this. It's fine. So,
Yeah, the entire fight was alluding to the fact that not only were they both holding back, but they weren't trying to kill each other.
mm-hmm.
I never thought I'd have to use one of my ultimate techniques against you, so you've gotten stronger. It's too early to give up. The way you are now, we could. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely like no intention, especially with the dialogue that Sonic. That right there confirms it. I think on both ends. At the end here, this panel here, this confirms that Flashy was not trying to kill Sonic. It's too early to give up. The way you are now, we could. And then the panel that we saw at the beginning of the last fight, with him basically introducing it in the first place, like, or saying that like as is on page. I simply remembered when I ran into you the other day that we never settled who is stronger. So that's all it was to me. It's a sparring match or a bout between old friends that had seen each other and wanted to catch up, in the only way that they knew how to catch up, by fighting.
Because they were basically using all their techniques against each other. Like Sonic was progression as the fight, like he used like the 10 Shadow Funeral, and obviously like the ultimate move was he was shocked. I love this. That like he's shocked at how fast Sonic's going. He's like, I can't believe that's his ultimate technique. And it leads back to that thing where Sonic gets up and he's just like he's basically brushing off the Flashy Fist, which looked great, just because he's been fighting Saitama for so long that they're nothing to him.
What do you think, Sundown? Do you think Flashy and Sonic? Well, no. Let's actually push on from that. But you'll answer this next question here because I think it's pretty straightforward what that was the case. But do you think Sonic is going to accept the offer here, or be tricked into taking the offer? Because those are two different things, right? There's acknowledging that this is like some fake proposal that he's in a genjutsu, but he still takes the power. Or there's that he doesn't know that this is like a proposal type shit. He tries to escape and then inadvertently gets blessed, like how Garou like touched his hand a little bit, slapped his hand away, whatever, and that was still enough to give him power. Maybe something like that happens, or he completely denies it. Do you think those three options, if any of those three are options, if there's a fourth option or whatever, or if you think something different is going to happen, how do you see this playing out?
So I think the wild card here is how stupid Sonic is.
And then Matt, you go after him, Keishan. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So I think Sonic, in his stupidity, could go either way. It could be like some hand that extends out and says high five, and Sonic just high fives it. Suddenly now he's got the blessing of the god. But I genuinely don't think that Sonic's gonna get a blessing. I feel like his relationship with Flash is kind of meant to be some sort of mirror, or it's meant to have similarities to his relation to Blast's relationship with Empty Void. And I don't think it's going to go in the same direction where one of them is then blessed with an ability from God. I think the story is going to move in the direction of Flash and Sonic not having that, and kind of staying a little bit more pure and loyal to their own worldviews, as opposed to kind of getting taken over by God. So that's where I'm thinking this is going.
Yeah, I can't see him taking it either, and not because of like the redraws. Because I know in the redraws he gets out. I can't remember how. Not in the redraws, the original. He gets out, but I can't remember how. But like, I've always loved the idea of in his dream, and I don't think it'll be this. If like in his dream, it's Saitama who visits him, and he's like, "Oh, Flashy, you want power? Take my hand." And immediately he's like, "Saitama, I challenge you!" And just immediately just starts throwing shuriken at him because it's Saitama. He doesn't want to take his hand. But they also spend time in the chapters beforehand trying to redeem Sonic a bit because obviously he's been more of a villain and him taking the monster cell before. But they go to the effort to show in him and Flash's backstory that he's trying to his original goal as a kid was to take over the village and reform it so it's not about like combat and like having to kill. It's about giving kids who don't have an opportunity in life an opportunity. So I think they wouldn't build up all that for him to take the offer and not do anything with that. Like the whole point is they're trying to be like, Sonic's actually a good guy. So this is on the path of like Sonic's redemption as a villain to more like, he's always been more of an anti-hero, but to try and give him some good redeeming qualities. And if he can break away from the monsterization, from the offer on his own, that's going to look very well on him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely don't see him taking it, but him maybe thinking about it. Like, for a second, it's like, could I become as strong as Saitama and then actually get a good fight? Could I achieve my dreams with this power? And then it's like, right as he's about to touch, he's like, look, I'm doing it on my own.
Let me throw this in there too, because this is almost like I think that the literary term is a MacGuffin, right? Where like, unless I'm wrong, where like they present something and then they present it because it's going to be used. I'm not sure if I'm using that term right, but like, it can't be a coincidence that this guy has been fiending for power. And
thinking of Chekhov's gun.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Chekhov's gun. I apologize. Chekhov's gun. They've been laying out the fact that this guy's fiending for power since the beginning of the series. Since the beginning of the series after him. Maybe it could be coincidental that now we have a guy who's extensively trying to give out interviews for the power, bro. Like, hey, you strong, bro? You want a job? Like, type shit. Like, God is an employer looking for employees, and Sonic's looking for a job. Like, am I not supposed to believe that he's not going to try to take the job opportunity? Like, he now is at the interview, and he's not going to go for the job opportunity. Like, that's kind of like Chekhov's gun. I almost feel like what Sundown said about the parallels between the relationship between of Empty Void and Blast versus Sonic and Flashy Flash being presented now, especially, has to be there for a reason. The parallel is supposed to be made in terms of a different resolution for both of these relationships. So, and how they're actually going to flourish and unravel, as it were. So, yes, they both have a similar past. Like, not necessarily even a similar past, right? We don't know what Blast and Void's past is, but we know what Flash and Sonic's past is. They were affiliated, they were close. That's the equivalent to Empty Void and Blast being close, because that's what you said, they're friends. And then you get the fight that happened, but Sonic didn't have a real fight. Sonic Flash didn't have a real fight. He's still only after Saitama. So, like, maybe the fact that that's what it is. Yeah. There was a separation. The whatchamacallit, the wedge that came in between Blast and Empty Void's relationship, no homo, was God. The blessing that Empty Void accepted from God. It would be perfect if that's also the wedge that comes into the newly flourished relationship of Flashy Flash and Sonic. They're just making up. We just saw the teamwork that they just went through. Like, it would be perfect and make sense if, yeah, they're also presented with the same obstacle that Empty Void and Blast were presented with, but they deal with it in a different way, or they resolve it in a different fashion. In which the case could be that, for sure, I could agree to them or Sonic not taking the blessing as well, and then they go about it differently. But isn't that a waste of all that information? Like, doesn't he have to take it? I don't think Flashy is gonna take it, period. But, like, doesn't Sonic have to take it?
I don't think so, because it'd be development for him rather than rely. He wants power, but he's also ready to work for it. And rather than try, he made that mistake before with the monster cell. He was like, "Yeah, I'll take it." But if he reflects on himself, and he's like, "I don't need this. I'd rather get it on my own." Then that's character growth for him, right?
Let's continue this, because there's a lot to this, right? So, what about what just happened in this recent chapter here in chapter 200? So, Sonic is contemplating as to how Flashy managed to get this strong, and then we see a panel of the guys he's been fighting, right? This is the same claim for Saitama, for Sonic. Like, he's been fighting Saitama and going after Saitama with all these assassinations. Mm-hmm. This is the reason why he has the claim to power right now. So, doesn't he technically already have that same, how do I put it? He's already tried that method of gaining indomitable strength. The indomitable strength of Saitama to rival him. He's already attempted hard work. He's doing that. He attempted the monster cell after the fact. I want to point this out because rereading this, I'm changing my viewpoint on these things. At the beginning of the redraws, we see these ninja disciples take down Hellfire and Galewind in their demon forms. Now, whether you want to say this is because of Genjutsu or whatever the case may be, this is kind of them alluding to the fact that they can beat Hellfire and Galewind. I'm 49, 60, 51 on this. Or, excuse me. Yeah, 51 on this. I'm leaning towards they were caught off guard. That's why they got defeated that quickly, or pinned down that quickly. The fact that they were involved in the next Flashy fight as well here in a chapter 2 after the fact, and they got caught up and captured. The Flashy's like, oh, we're going to save these two for experiments and all that, doesn't help their case. That's what makes it 49-51. The fact that Flashy's dealing with these guys pretty casually right now. Maybe it's because they don't have their monster fight forms anymore. Maybe they can't go into those monster fight states anymore. Maybe they chose to not do that and they're getting caught off guard because they're not in their monster states. That's still out in the open. But the fact that happened, it makes me think, what's the case here? I'm pointing this out because I need to emphasize the fact that, remember, we're talking about the different things that Sonic has tried to become stronger. Sonic was presented at the beginning of the Monster Invasion arc, of the Hero Invasion arc, with these two guys. They both came to him and humiliated him. They showed him that Sonic is nothing compared to their capabilities. Almost. Showed him the difference at the very least. And now, this is the presentation. Sonic hasn't gone after Saitama since this arc started. So that's when he was. That's the Sonic that we're seeing right now. The Sonic that had been going after Saitama before the arc, before the Hero Invasion arc, before Atomic Samurai and Tatsumaki and Todd Emperor led an assault team to attack the Monster Association base. That was the last time we had seen Sonic. And Sonic was not attacking Saitama in between that time period. So from that chapter forward, or onward, backward, excuse me, all the way up to chapter 1 or whatever, that's Sonic's growth. That's the effort and hard work he had put into trying to assassinate Saitama. After that hard work, he tried eating the monster cell to gain power. So it's not as if he's not willing to entertain methods of gaining strength that are not hard work. We just saw that he is. I think that's, if I'm explaining that correctly, and if you guys are following me, I think that's why I have an argument to say that he's really going to take this blessing, maybe even inadvertently.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think there is a chance there, but even was it towards the end of this, the latest chapter, or was it the one before that? You see Sonic visualizing both Saitama and Flash, and he's talking about like their power levels and how it's comparable, and then he's like, essentially what he's saying is Saitama is like this out of reach kind of power level, but then he mentions that Flash is this one which is kind of within his grasp. So I think with that, it gives an idea of what kind of Sonic's mentality on this, which is that Flash is someone who he can work towards, and he can achieve that without having to kind of cut corners. Whereas I feel like the monster cell was more of a reaction. I can't remember if that was more of a direct reaction to his encounter with Hellfire and Gale, or if that was a reaction to his encounter with Saitama.
It was probably a mixture of both, really, because like Saitama was his goal, but then to find someone else with such overwhelming presence and speed was disheartening for him, if I had to guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably why the monster cell took the way it did.
Yeah. So I think you're right, Grim. There is a chance, and there's definitely stuff in the literature that would suggest that Sonic could go for something like that. But by the way the story's flowing, by the way his character's progressing, and once again with those parallels, I think it's going to be more of a case of showing how Sonic tries to maneuver towards Flash's level without cutting those corners.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one that brought it up, so tell me why it's less or more impressive, because I don't want it to happen, but I'm willing to listen to reason. Why is it better for the story, better for the reader, more consistent? Why would I want Sonic to turn this down and have some wholesome realization that he just needs to work hard and he'll get there eventually, instead of getting a blessed Sonic who could be crazy strong and do that thing to us and give us a badass fight and be an obstacle in the future for Flashy to have to encounter? Why would I not want that to be the case? Because we don't have any blessed acolytes right now besides Void. There's nobody else who's blessed.
Because if he got blessed, then we know what it means for Sonic. Either he dies in battle or God kills him, and that's the end of Sonic.
Yeah, and I don't think Sonic's never positioned himself to be that kind of ultimate bad guy for a particular arc or for the story in general. He's never really been positioned in such a way. So that would be a little bit, for me, it would be a little bit surprising and probably a little bit kind of shocking. So they could take the story that way, but it'd be shocking in a kind of, I don't really think that's in Sonic's character kind of way. Yeah, I suppose they could go in that direction, but for me, once again, the way that they're trying to, like Matt was saying earlier, the way that they're bringing Sonic into this, the way that they're telling his story and his backstory with Flash, and kind of what his dream was, setting up a village where people could live.
Where else does that happen? Sonic Sundown. Come right back at me with a response, bro, because this is directly to you. Where else do you often see a character getting his backstory revealed and his past revealed, and what happens after the fact? in One Piece, in Naruto, in Bleach. What happens when those things start to appear in the storyline?
I understand what you're saying, Grim.
They die. They die.
I understand what
But
you're saying, Grim. But you know what this series is? What's this series called?
The series is called We Just Beheaded a Bunch of Ninjas. The series is called in chapter 6. This very same character beheaded a bunch of bald guys.
It's
What's
called
serious- what's the name of the series?
One,
Yeah?
but then there's not a piece. It's this thing on the end of my arm. It's a fist, which does a punch.
So, One Punch Man, which is a series known for breaking and destroying tropes through and through, you think if they're going to show a flashback that Sonic's going to die, Sonic might do this and be like, oh, actually, I realized I'm fucking sick and just live forever. That's just as likely in One Punch Man as, oh, and he dies. That One Punch Man loves doing this stuff. One Punch Man likes... We talked about this before, stream. One loves setting up, like... We've talked about this. He likes setting up loads of things for them just not to pay off, and that's the joke. So that's what he'll do. This is what he does. He sets up loads of things, and the joke is, oh, that doesn't happen. Get
Fuck
it?
One, bro. How you gonna make Darkness Blade and he sucks? What are you doing, bro? He looks like that guy, bro.
Darkness Blade's shit, and that's why he's perfect. That's why he's so good.
Bro, he looks like that guy, bro. Bro.
He's awful. That makes him so much better. I'm so much happier that he's bad. It's so good. That he's
Bro. Why'd you do Go Catch You like that? What are you doing, bro?
He knows what he's doing with characters. If Catcher stayed too long to be a problem. It's much more entertaining that he got off screen.
Bro, the guy walked out of the stadium after humiliating stars. Stars, bro. Shiryu was the future, bitch. Humiliated his ass. Walks out the stadium, and then we hear his head gets popped off. We don't even get that, bro. Oh my god, bro. Fuck
yeah,
Kate.
perfect.
Oh
was-
my
that was incredible.
god, bro.
That was incredible with a story.
Oh my god, bro.
That's a perfect example of how to off screen.
Oh my god, bro. That's so not gas. That was so not badass.
It is 100% more badass.
Oh my god.
I'm not even trying to be funny here. That's genuinely the better way to handle that.
Oh my god, bro. Like, I really feel like it would be a fumble if somebody doesn't get, like, okay, I have to give you more context to this, and I want you three to, like, actively respond to me, because I don't think we can just brush this off. Like, I think these are things that are alluding to this happening. So, we're going to get arguably the strongest villain in the series to use such a hacked, sly, badass top 3 presentation with the sneak genjutsu, bro. Trick these motherfuckers into thinking that they were still friends. Oh, I'm your boy, bro. Here, touch this cube. The badassery gets them both, but they're not gonna take the blessing, bro. It's almost as if you're gonna take this blessing. You're gonna take this blessing. Ain't no turning down this offer. You're gonna get these power, and you're gonna do what I say. I mentioned that there was like possibly the story is alluding to there being some type of negative effect or influence that comes with being blessed by God. Maybe like you taking actions or saying things that are not normally what you would do, or being swayed or persuaded or controlled, or whatever the case may be. I don't have concrete evidence to, or at least I don't remember of enough concrete evidence to definitively say that. But doesn't this scenario kind of like seem like you don't have a choice? Like, why? We've seen Saitama touch the cube. We've seen that. We saw what happened when, like, they saw the mini god in the corner. Why weren't they proposed in that instance? We heard the voice, right? Like, I guess, like, I don't know, bro. I feel like there has to be something forceful here, but every proposal we've seen has been just that, a proposal.
Like, it's a proposal in air quotes. That's what it is, mate. 'Cause, like, no one's ever had a chance to deny the proposal. No one's gone, no, you know? And then God's gone, oh, okay, no problem. Someone's interrupted. Like, with the ones that didn't go through, it's Tatsumaki, because Blast interrupted.
That's right.
And then with Garou, he said no, but then God was like, you still touch my hand, though, so there's a partial influence there. So there's been no one who said that. So the proposal is a proposal, but in the same way, it's like, you could either, you could give me a handshake
deal
or,
with the devil.
or yeah, exactly. Give me a handshake or I'll tear down your house. So
It's
it's
been.
up to you.
It's funny that like I never made that parallel. Like it's right there in your face, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
God is giving you a deal with the devil. Like that's basically what
Whoa, that's the core of the podcast.
it is.
Wow,
That's what it is.
they're going
bro.
to be for months on the Discord. They're going to be talking about this like, Jordan said.
Hey, clip that bit. Hey, quote
Someone's
that
gonna
bit.
frame that.
Throw it in the
If
show.
anything, it's more like a deal with the mafia. It's like, hey, you can pay us protection money. It's like, I don't want to pay you protection money. Well, then I'd hate to see something happen to your nice storefront here. It's like, you're getting a deal. It's not one you want, but you're having to take it.
Shit, bro. It's that's why I'm like, that's it. Yeah, answer that. Respond to that. What this is being presented as a forceful situation. Dispel any other like belief I may have or evidence that I could use this to say that Sonic's gonna become blessed.
I ain't got nothing. So it could very well be the case. I mean, from what we've seen so far, unless there is something that interrupts them, or unless we find out Sonic has or Flash has like just some random ability to say no consent, and the God just goes, oh, okay, I can't do anything now. We can't really say anything against that. The only question I would have back to you, because I think Matt's got something to say, is what makes you so sure we should be discussing Sonic and not Flash?
Oh damn! Sundown with the turnaround. All right, bro. I'm gonna let Matt go, and then I got you.
I was just going to say, if there's any time to introduce something new to the new mechanics of God, it'll be with this, because if Sonic says no and doesn't touch him, this is when we'll find out what happens if you just say no. It just does God have to go, well, all right, see you, or he's going to go, are you sure? Because we need to check. Are you sure? Because it's a lot of power. But
You sure you didn't drop your you sure you didn't drop your credit card, sir? Here it is.
It is. I want to bring up a Phoenix point later on, but it is like physical contact that we're talking about here. So we could see these figures that are really like God endowed attack them, and then they have to take the power, and then they'll be under God's control. It'll actually be like an Avatar situation where you're completely under His control. Maybe that's a way of pushing it too. I'm not sure.
Could be, yeah.
To switch it up though, because I like the angle that Sundown just took about it. What about the other guy? What about Flashy Flash? Like, this guy is the epitome of what we're talking about, and what Black Sperm was talking about. The entire arc, kind of what the theme was of the Martial Association arc. That these heroes are not really heroes. They're in it for themselves and their own selfish reasons. Flashy Flash was the flag boy of this. Platinum Sperm was clowning his ass the entire fight, talking about, you're not here to save nobody, bro. You ain't no hero, bitch. You're not no hero. You're a dirty assassin. You have negative intentions. Your intentions are not positive. You're just as much the reason that fighting and war and evil exists as anyone else. You just happen to be doing it for a side that has quote unquote moral beliefs or moral reasoning or moral drive or whatever. That's kind of what he was pointing out. So yeah, this guy kind of does have some dirty, deep down reasoning to take the deal. Like, oh, you're telling me that the 4 people who I encountered the other day that were much faster than me, easily much faster than me, I can become faster than them right now? I can become the king of the playpen right now? The only thing that like makes me think that Flashy just for sure is not going to take it is how negative and how dismissive he was of any allegiance or any like acceptance of the village and Empty Void himself. He detests that concept in its entirety. So finding some type of allegiance with Empty Void, I don't think would be up his alley. That's why I would say no. What about you guys?
My only counterpoint to that, Grim, is literally the last the last panel of the last chapter is literally Flashy reaching out to God to touch his hand. That's literally how. That's how. It's a good argument. I get what you're saying, but it almost goes, yeah. But look, he's actually about to do it. So
Fuck, bro. I mean,
obviously, of course, they don't know. Like that's always a key thing. It's like they don't know what they're signing up for, but it's not as if necessarily just like the key to power. Like his words here aren't about like, oh, let's grow stronger together. It's about let's get out of here and build the village that we always wanted to build. So it's not necessarily about power. Like obviously they'll get power, but it's not necessarily that power's going to lure everyone into it. Like I think with Homeless, it wasn't about power, right? It was about finding a god to believe in.
yeah, no, you're right. You're right. You're right. That a drive for power. You're right. No, I understand. I agree. I agree. That's not an explicit implication here. Whenever you're taking this deal, it's actually almost never the explicit implication. It's what your actual desires are.
Yeah, and because what we've seen, a lot of it has come in battle. So like Tatsumaki wanted power because she was weak, because she was tired after the fight. Garou because he couldn't beat Saitama. Sairochi because she could beat Tatsumaki. Like that's how it all built up and up. So they wanted power, but Flashy doesn't necessarily. He wants to, like I said, village, religion. It could be for whatever reason, as long as God will do whatever it takes to get you to touch the hand.
That's a fact. Damn, bro, you gotta be trash. Like, how you already taking the hand like that, bro? Like Tatsumaki was like, hey, who are you? But not Flashy, bro. Flashy was like, oh, I thought I was having a dream, bro.
Dude, Flashy woke up and he was like, hey, that was a long sleep, dude. I was like 27 or something.
Like, oh,
Which
shit,
I think
bro.
that's actually going to play out. I think he's going to realize that this is a memory. And he's going to be like, you aren't Sonic. This conversation didn't happen this way. If it's like trying to use his own memories, but like there's just a little bit different. And it's like, I'm not having a dream. This is a flashback. What the fuck is happening? I ain't touching your goddamn hand, Mr. Man. You ain't who I think you are.
Also, you've turned 90 degrees, so I can see you are half monster. So no, thank you.
Survey says, fuck off. I ain't doing it.
Yeah, I'm thinking, well, we talked about interruptions before. We could have two of the greatest interrupters coming, which would be either Saitama knocking on the dimensional door again and going, hello guys, what are you guys doing here? It seems a little bit shady. Are you drug dealing? And, or we could have Blast pop up, and he'll just be like, whoa guys, don't touch that hand.
Well, it'd have to be Blast because Saitama's nowhere near right now.
He's going to get like curry udon or something, right?
Yeah, he's going to grab some food with Monaco. So it'd have to be Blast, and it's not impossible for Saitama to show up. But how would he get there? He doesn't really know where they're going, so it has to be Blast who shows up.
Yeah, it would have to.
There is
Didn't
the
Blast
third fun option.
Didn't Blast give him that beeper thing?
Maybe.
That's right. So he gets a cape, right? Yeah, he did. So here's what I'm thinking. I recently did a top. I did a top 30 for Phoenix Man, and I had to read up on this Phoenix space. The Phoenix space is almost exactly the same thing as God's proposals. Like, exactly. There's even a point where you see, like, a depiction of, like, Child Emperor being veiny. And, like, the hands they're exchanging, they touch each other, like, veins starting to cross over. And there's a whole depiction of Brave Giant as, like, a monster affiliated or associated with, like, Child Emperor himself, all veiny stuff, too, like. And there was a whole offer, a conversation about power, and then also primarily about acknowledgement. Because the Heroes and the Heroes Association wasn't acknowledging him. eerily so many similarities to the God proposal. So like Saitama popped into the Phoenix base. Just popped into it.
Wait, hang on. Does that mean if they took Saitama to the cave, that celestial rock, he could just punch through and they could get to God?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on that because I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But
So, one of the reasons they want Empty Void is because he can open the dimension to where God is, right?
yes.
So, but as we've seen, like, you know, so, and that is at a place called like the Celestial Rock. They say that's where the gateway to God is. Empty Void can open the door. So basically open towards the dimension. But if Saitama could punch through like dimensions and like energy ain't a problem for him, like if he's kicking around portals, if they took Saitama there, could he basically punch the rock and open the door to God?
The answer is definitively yes, because off of the first attempt without a blessing from God, he was able to manipulate time and space to go back in time.
Okay. I mean that's definitely how yes. Okay. Yeah. That's how he's gonna meet God if everyone's in like a big battle with God. And then he just busts through the door.
It's gonna be something like super, super anticlimactic. Like everyone's gonna be in this like crazy fight. Saitama's gonna slip or something down a hole and be like, "Hey, what's this place?"
Are you talking about that temple that rose up? No, that was already resolved with like a whole dragon thing that came out.
No, we don't know where it is, but they've talked about it. That's where Blast said. That's where Blast said Empty Void could open the door there, and that would be the door to God.
Got you. Got you. Okay.
Because it does bring up the question of why hadn't Empty Void done that already? And I assume the answer would be, well, Blast and him got in a fight. Empty Void was put on kind of life support for the last 15 years. But was that backstory there is kind of what we're missing out on. You know, how long did Empty Void have the blessing for before Blast? It must have been very, very, very soon after he received the blessing that Blast was like, oh, I gotta get rid of this guy. Or I gotta at least wound him in some way, shape, or form. Because he didn't seem to have an opportunity to go and open up that door or that portal. So then the question becomes for me, did Empty Void did he willingly accept the proposal, the blessing, or did he, similar to Garou, did he like accidentally touch him and go, whoop, I've got it now?
Are you saying that he's currently under God's control?
Hey, it's a possibility. He could be a bit more like, not necessarily like direct control, but it could be like similar to what Garou had, where he received the blessing in some part or some way, shape, or form. Maybe not in its entirety, but enough to kind of go through the monsterization that he has done.
But this guy's intentions are completely God's. Like, there's nothing alluding to that, like...
Yeah.
Like, his intentions are completely God's. So that's why
the way he talks and everything, like the fact that he pulled out a cube and he's smacking people left, right, and center with it, suggests that he took the power willingly.
But then why?
Exactly.
Like,
why did he take it willingly? Why did he not open up the portal straight away? How did Blast know?
Because I would even imagine a scenario where all this happened at the same time, where like they were like going after a cube, and then God fucked around and attacked Void, and then Void ended up like, I don't know, bro. This is so fucking hard because these proposals are all emotional based. So because we don't have the backstory or any information as to what Empty Void actually wants, I can't necessarily say what would make him like take that. Like, did he resent Blast for some reason? Like,
the only thing I can think of that would fit along those lines is we know that they're quite prideful. The moment someone's stronger than them, they're like, I don't like that. They always want to be number one. And if he's like the head of the family, like if he's the original ninja in terms of like the village, then it makes it kind of stems from that. So what if it like Blast says they were equal? What if like really Empty Void knew Blast was stronger and was like no? So maybe like God fed on like his his nerves, his concerns on that, and then that's how he got through to him. because that's the only way. We obviously don't know how Empty Void was as a person, so that could obviously be completely untrue. But based on how the other ninjas acted, that's probably the closest I could guess.
That is funny because it is kind of weird that like he would say that they were equals and shit. Like,
but that might just be Blast being like, "Oh no, we're equals." Like because he saw him as a partner, he also just like respected his strength. But maybe like Blast thought they were equals, but Empty Void was actually like, no, he is stronger than me, and I don't like that.
Yeah, it's the stronger guy's humble enough to say, no, we're equal. But the weaker guy's like, man, he would kick my ass. I need more power.
I'm gonna read the dialogue in chapter 196 here. See if that sheds some light. His name is Empty Void, and he's my partner. Oh, present tense. That present tense is important. That means he's still trying to save his ass. He fell under God's control during our search for the cubes. That's why Flashy said that earlier. If he and I hadn't failed, those youngsters wouldn't have tragically had their lives taken away in the village, and there wouldn't be so many assassination victims. It's a problem that I must take responsibility for. Basically, to me, he's basically saying that the fact that Sonic or Flashy's been dealing with all these different assassination attempts, that we heard about whenever he fought the Ninja Brothers, is because of this. So that means that all the different like gangs and like crime and syndicates, whatever, are stemmed from God. Is that correct? Am I wrong to make that connection? Remember they told us in the Flashy versus the Ninja Brothers fight that Flashy had been assassinating, or they had been coming after to assassinate Flashy for a long time. Not just ninjas, but like all different kinds of pirates and things like that, crime organizations. What Blast just said, from what I'm understanding, if that's incorrect, and it's on the screen here, that if they hadn't failed, those youngsters wouldn't have tragically lost their had their lives taken away in the village. So the village was a system of raising youth to be exceptionals, and they ended up killing each other along the way, right?
Well, yeah, part of that, but I think what he means by here, because they mentioned having their lives taken away before, but they were referring to more the fact that they weren't able to live lives as children.
Yeah,
and they had to live their lives as like these machines that were being raised to basically become assassins and murder.
Gotcha.
Murder bots.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay.
But actually, that does shed a light on something, because you mentioned it. But here, the way that Blast is describing it, and the intention that he's showing is that he wants to bring Empty Void back to humanity, and that's why they're doing some of those tests as well to see whether they can unmonsterify those monsters from the martial arts tournament. So it does bring into question once again Blast referring to him as his partner in the present tense, Blast also wanting to demonstrify him. What does Blast see in that? Does he still believe? The way that they're framing this makes it almost feel like Blast thinks that Empty Void is worth saving, and he would only be worth saving to me if he hadn't willingly accepted God's blessing.
Wow.
Maybe, I mean, I think he wants to save him because he's his friend. Like, he sees him as his partner. He's like I said, his partner. He still sees him as his friend. He's like, my friend's in trouble. He's going down the path. I want to help him. I want to get him back on the right path again. That's what it says to me.
Yeah, it's not enough to dispel to say that, like, yeah, he could have made a bad decision. It's not just like he was controlled or an accident. No, like he could be making a bad decision, like somebody who's fucking like doing drugs or something like that. Like you're telling him
exactly.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that's what I think it is. Like, hey, you're doing drugs, but I know I can save you, type shit.
Mm-hmm. You know, because he could say it's about God and all that, but really, there's also an element that's probably that. He's like, yeah, I want my friend to come back. You know, probably especially for Blast, who we don't know much about the other people still, but like he was probably like, it's probably not many times he gets to have like someone who can keep up with him, someone who's actually on there with him. So the fact he'd lost that was probably quite bad for him. So he wants that connection again, in the same way how Saitama doesn't feel. Like how Saitama feels, like Blast kind of gets that a little. Like obviously this isn't fully the same, but like how But from being on your own, not having someone to relate to, it can be lonely. Especially with something like what Blast has to do, which is dealing with God. It can be dangerous and lonely. So to have someone there just to have you back, that's got to be massive. So just even having him back would be such a big thing for Blast.
Yeah, and that's where their kind of their interaction and how what their relationship looks like right now would be really interesting, because it would be really cool to understand as we go forward how much of the way that Empty Void acts now is directly because of the blessing and because of the power that he's received and because of his relationship with God. Because let's say they do demonstrify him. Was it ever stated, I might be forgetting here, was Empty Void only able to open up these portals to God once he was blessed?
No, I don't think so. But also disregard what I said before about the Celestial Rock. That was all pre-redraw. Going over these chapters, that isn't in there anymore. So
Gotcha. I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
Good.
Aha,
So
damn.
that's not a thing anymore.
So there's no key
might-
thing either, right?
It might be the key thing isn't there, and so is the Celestial Rock. It might be something that comes up later on.
Yeah.
But right now we can't treat it as part of the story.
Yeah.
Fair dues.
What was the question I was just asked before I said that?
It was going to be about that. It was going to be is Blast betting on demonstrifying Empty Void, but then Empty Void still having the capacity to open up a portal to God if he wanted to, but that doesn't really hold any weight provided that part of the story isn't actually canon.
Gotcha. No, yeah, they're definitely doing the shock treatment to try and bring these guys back. So that's the resolution that's pending, and that's the Chekhov's gun that Keisha mentioned earlier. That's what it's supposed to be. We're getting this now so that at the end of the series or whenever it becomes relevant in so odd chapters, it's not an ass pull. Like, we had been trying to convert human or monsters back into humans for a while now.
I mean, we've seen it, but here's the question I'll ask: do you think Empty Void's going to want to turn back? Because we know there's an element of you have to want it. That's why Hamkichi. That's why I was looking for Hamkichi, because he regretted his actions and wanted to turn back to human. Do you think Empty Void's going to regret what he did?
Yeah, it'll be some pride type shit, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, but that's where it really falls back on how he received the blessing.
Yeah.
Because if he accepted, like, yeah, man, give me some more of that, put it directly in my veins, then I doubt he'd regret it. But if it was more of a, oh, I touched him, this is not working out so well, then I would see kind of some of the regret. Even if he like accidentally touched him, but enjoyed the powers and enjoyed the kind of blessing that he received, I could see him still regretting it afterwards.
Yep, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Like, it's kind of like a whole like you use this supplement to like boost you, but you were so prideful beforehand that you didn't use any. That's my personal thing. Like, I've never used any supplements for any sports. I've never taken creatine. I barely even like drink Gatorade or any like put anything into my Gatorade or my drinks. It's just straight water or like some type of like sports drink or whatever. Like, nothing artificial when I compete. So like if I was ever proposed or given a chance to like take some supplement to improve my game or improve anything of mine, and I didn't like just blow expectations out of the water, I would feel like remorse, regret. Like, man, I gave up that like prideful, honorful like way of going about it to try these experimental things just to get to the goal. But not only did I not get to the goal, it wasn't even worth it, and I just gave that up. That to me is the reason why he could both willingly take a full blessing and then willingly want to revert back to working on his own, if we're to assume that all of these things are dictated on pride and power.
Because right now I can't see him wanting to turn back, only because the first thing he did when he recovered was he headed over to Garou. He stole his energy to power himself up again, and after he did it, he dipped and he started laughing at Blast. Like, that's not the attitude of someone who's like, compared to Amkichi, who's in a monsterized form, recognizes his mistakes, like, I want to turn back. Empty Void is powered up and ready to go. He's quiet. He's happy. You know, he wants the power still. And I think there must be some kind of growth for him where he'll want to turn back if the retcon stuff does come back and he is the key to God. But if not, then who knows?
Yeah, yeah. And I still think it was funny how he managed to escape from Blast, like just pulling down that shroud over him and going, and just kind of running away.
It was Blast, yeah. He just pulled space over him. It was like a, what was it? Basically like camouflage. Yeah.
Dude straight did the Harry Potter thing, man. He's like Phantom of the Opera, dude.
So do you guys think that, like, because remember he cut the beam, the cannons that blasted after him, manipulated time and space. We just seen how crazy his genjutsu is against like these guys. Is Empty Void like more impressive than anyone else we've seen in the series so far in terms of villains outside of Saitama? Like, is he already eclipsing Garou? Like,
No.
No.
well, what are your feelings, and then what are your predictions for Empty Void in terms of a presentation?
He's got great presence so far. They've done everything very well. Like, way to type him up is literally he stole the energy of the strongest opponent we've had so far in the series. The Genjutsu, like we said, the Genjutsu was good. You know, Blast part, all the hype is there in terms of what he can do. It's just about pulling it off now too, which I think they will do, because I'd be shocked right now if they couldn't. That's my main expectation for him in the future. I guess we'll see how this fight goes, because we should hopefully, we should probably get like Blast versus Void, and hopefully Blast should win. It'd be good to see Blast go all out as well because of it, to see what Blast can really do. But I don't know for Empty Void, because because of everything else going on right now with like the Neo heroes as well. I don't know what we'll see of Empty Void this soon. Like, is Empty Void, we're going to solve this and he'll just kind of be lurking in the background until he becomes relevant again, or is he going to get involved with the Neo heroes?
Yeah, I get what you mean. It would be a bit awkward if this entire Empty Void situation was just solved in the next few chapters. Like Blast pops up, they fight, and that's it. I feel like that would be a really awkward usage of that. That would be something that I think would be quite disappointing if Empty Void is a problem that's arisen for these chapters and for this arc, and he fights Blast, they have an awesome fight, and that's it. Like, Empty Void just dies. That would be a major kind of like, oh, okay, like this guy was hyped up for quite a while, and he popped up, and he's basically taken out within a few chapters. That would be quite disappointing. But having said that, I do agree with Matt. I think I'd love to see some sort of interaction, some sort of fight between Empty Void and someone who can keep up. In this case, it would be Blast. I'm not sure if I'd love to see like a resolution so quickly, but I would like to see Blast utilize more of his abilities. It would be more impressive than what Garou did in terms of like his whole kind of cosmic energy, all that type of stuff. I think that would be probably a little bit too soon for where the story is right now, but I wouldn't be against it. If Empty Void starts pulling out some crazy shit, I'd be there with my popcorn out.
I'm gonna have you give your opinion right after this, Kishin, but I just want to like hype up, like, you guys are exceptional, bro. Like, I hadn't even considered him interacting with the rest of the individuals in the stories, bro. Not only do we have new samurai affiliated members that are going to be expanded upon, and now new ninja characters that are going to be expanded upon are dead now. But yeah, the entire Nero Hero storyline, which is being built up heavily, which Child Emperor went over to, which Metal Bat is involved with, like, yeah, that's also existing as well. Like, that's also occurring. And now to have this build up, which we wanted to be the primary storyline, I think there's some great potentials in the making, especially because we don't know about the executives and the Nero Heroes. We don't even know what the structure of this like new organization is really going to be like. And we saw how badass the different character archetypes that we got with were with the Monster Association, with like how diverse Homeless was, in contrast to Fear Ugly, in contrast to like even Black Sperm's fighting style. Like these are all different types of monsters that went about it in different ways, and we got entertainment from them in a bunch of different fashion. So I'm excited to see how that's going to flourish with these Nero heroes, and we have no reason to believe that they're going to be morally good or have the moral high ground. It's actually the contrary. With their leader, I think they're going to be evil as, like super evil. So like even more reason for them to be blessed by God. But it kind of brings us to the question. There are obviously people, as was elaborated when the Nero Hero storyline was being flourished, that there are obviously stronger powers in the series than we see that are in the forefront. There are stronger people that exist than are just in the S class. The S class is just what the Hero Association managed to capture out of the strong individuals. If you remember what the inception of the association was in the first place, and how heroes got to the S ranking by their outstanding achievements. There's no implication out there that there weren't stronger heroes. We actually saw that, or stronger people. We actually saw that with Bomb and Suiryu and those different examples already early in the storyline. There's a lot of room for big, strong guys to pop up. That kind of makes me uncomfortable with how like God hasn't been blessing everybody. The story clearly told us that this cube thing has been a problem for a long time, since Blast and Void were younger. So have you never decided to bless anybody in between that time period? Was everybody saying no? Were like Empty Void and Blast just that good at stopping like cube interactions? Like, why, if there have always been characters of substantial strength or of competent ability in the series to maybe even rival Homeless Emperor for sure, maybe not Psychos, but maybe Psychos, and different people like that, why have they never been blessed? Like I was previously, just to add more context to this, right? I was reading through Psychos' backstory in reference to Fubuki, and she's always had some like weird, cultish, anti-human beliefs that are of her own. But maybe what if they weren't of her own? What if they were incepted into her head by God? Like, the more I read, the more I think the theory we talked about a long time ago, the theory of God, that God is responsible for a lot of the things that are happening in the series, that have happened in the series, the more credibility that takes, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't know why God hasn't been involved with everybody. So it's cool that you bring up the Nero heroes here. Keishan, please elaborate on what you think about Empty Void.
Empty Void as a character will probably do something that we haven't really seen with other villainous characters before, because him being a hero to some degree, teaming up with Blast and stuff in the past, and now he's just going full kind of evil with it, so it's kind of a heel turn. I'm not sure what I can say that hasn't already been just brought up already.
Well, either way, maybe you'll remember it or you can elaborate upon it along the way. Just interrupt us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think something that came to mind as you were kind of talking about why haven't there been kind of previous blessings and things like that. I don't really have an answer for that. But I do think, and this might be kind of like Captain Obvious over here, that the way that the story has been going, and with more and more occurrences of God blessing people and cube interactions and all that type of stuff, since even Tatsumaki was younger and since Bang and Empty Void have been fighting it, I think the quick progression of it has something to do with Saitama and his breaking of his limiter and kind of surpassing it. I think ultimately in the story there will be some sort of interaction between Saitama and his breaking and surpassing of his limits, and kind of God and him wanting to kind of somehow get back into the world or find a vessel or whatever it might be. I think that those two storylines kind of intertwine somewhere.
That would be badass. People predicted that before. I could definitely see that.
And it would be crazy if Empty Void just goes to the Neo Heroes and starts pinging everyone with his cube.
This guy is crazy.
It's like you get a deal. You get a deal. Everyone look under your chairs. You're all getting cubed today.
How many people have we seen blessed at one time? I think
Ooh.
it's 2.
Homeless and
Homeless-
Sairochi.
Yeah. Do you think there's a limit to how many people God can bless at once?
No.
Oh, like say he walks up to the
Technically 3, because Void. If we're saying that Void was always blessed, then yeah, he was. It was.
Then yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's a good point. So we've had Sairochi was blessed, and that was definitely within the same time frame as Homeless being alive.
Yes, and if you count, and like Grim said, if you count Empty Void, who's regenerating, that's up to 3.
Yeah, and Garou was definitely blessed after Sairochi and
Fully on his own,
Homeless.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the only one that we know. Like, if you count Empty Void, it's 2, but if not, he was the only one currently blessed at that point in time.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there were any others. Like, did we see any other interactions?
I was being totally stupid with the interpretation of your question. I thought you were talking about like if like say you get a group of people and they're all being presented a deal at the same exact time. Like say he walks up on the
No.
Blizzard group. And then
Yeah,
it's like,
no,
hey,
everyone gets their own.
hey,
Yeah,
you
everyone
wanna
gets one.
would it all just be like he talks to them individually in their heads, or do they just all appear together?
It was a voice last time that they all heard, I believe, right? Remember Underground whenever they found the cube?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a limit to like how many people he's willing to bless. But I
think it would be surprising how many people could actually like take it. So
pause.
we had hey, I don't know how we got there, but with like Sairochi, to be fair, out of the 3 of them, besides Empty Void, the most surprising person who received the blessing would have been Homeless Emperor, because we're talking about guys who from the ninja village who were like prime physical condition and all that type of stuff, and they would have been reduced to ash. So it goes to show as well that it's not just about being physically strong. There's something that God has to see in you, whether it's like a drive for something or a want for something, like in Homeless Emperor's case, for instance, where the guy was like he was butt ass naked somewhere in the park or something like that, and he received the blessing.
Well, it's to do with a mental state, isn't it? It's like it has to be like a real one. It's not like saying, "Oh, I want to do this." Like I want this, because for Homeless, he was literally about to kill himself when God showed up.
Yeah.
Like that's what it was about. He was at like the lowest point of his life, and he was like contemplating how life works and God, and he was like, "I'll join God," and that's basically his dream. I think if I remember, his want was he wanted to be one with God. And he saw by be one with like life, and the way he saw that was by killing himself. So for him, that's why God could reach out to him, because he like looking at the panel on 197 as well, that color panel, which says that depends on the capabilities of the subject. It might not necessarily be physical capabilities; it just might be actual like readiness to accept, like readiness to accept a change, like how monstrification is similar. Like it's almost like a negative impact, and it like envelops a change in you. It's similar to that kind of thing for natural. So it's the same kind of. I'm repeating myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And did Homeless not want to? Did he not fall into that whole line of thinking of I need to exterminate humankind before his blessing?
Yeah, it was. He had gotten to that point of thinking, and then he was gonna kill himself, and then
He was very much, I'm going to exterminate humanity. I'm starting with myself.
He just hated humanity. I think because he'd just been so wronged by people, he just hated them. That's what it was about. So
Yeah.
he didn't see much point.
Yeah, man, this is there's a lot to this, and I like that there's a lot to this. And I like that we can allude to things from the very beginning of the series. That makes this so much better. Like 100%. It's not the level of One Piece. It's not the level of One Piece. It's a whole different beast. But we definitely have lore, and we definitely have hidden theories that are credible, like legit credible. Like it's not some shit that we're pulling out of our ass. Like I 100% have faith, or I think it's credible for me to say that God was possibly involved with things before we're really cohesively talking about. I think it's very, very plausible, if not being alluded
Definitely.
to.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think that's pretty much it. I think we're pretty much at the exact same point in terms of understanding. Flashy Flash is about to take a deal potentially. Sonic's about to take a deal potentially. Empty Void is that guy. Who's gonna save the day? Find out
Okay.
next time on One Punch Man.